Hello all you people out there in internet land. My name is Britt Kolick. I use they, she pronouns. I'm a professional stage manager and it's story time. So this story, it's called The Button Story. It takes place during the 39 Steps in May of 2023. Quick backstory, the 39 Steps was a novel. It was an Alfred Hitchcock film. It was the last film he did in England before he came to America and started making all those cool American movies. And then it's this really fun, just witty, quick play. Quick as in dialogue. It's very snappy. It's a very long play. And there's only 4 people involved, which I think my producers thought meant it was going to be easy. A lot of people do it with 3 men and 1 woman. We did it with 2 men and 2 women. Richard Hannay has a very hard job. He's the main character. He is constantly on stage, and as an actor, you have to be a different person in an accent for like 2.5 hours with an intermission, but still, very hard thing to do. My leading lady, she has to be 3 different women, and then you have 2 clowns, and they, I think, each play like 20 different characters or something insane like that. And the really unfortunate thing is there are a lot of scene changes and actors can't help with it. Hannay's always going off stage to come right back on. Pam, Margaret, Annabella also sort of just going off to come right back on. And my clowns are always changing. We did this production with 3 crew members. We had my ASM and 2 crew members, one who was supposed to only do costume changes, and then we ended up recruiting him, shout out to Joey, to do a bunch of scene changes as well. And then I'm up in the booth calling this insane show. But this takes place the Saturday before we close. We were doing a 2-show Saturday, and then we did a Sunday matinee and we were done. Right before intermission, my 2 clowns, one jumps into the other's arms. They were like doing a little dance. She jumps into his arms. Ta-da! Blackout, they run off. I bring the lights up, we do an intermission. So that all happens. And for some reason on this day, I probably made a habit of it. I probably didn't want to make a habit of it, but I did. I would go to the women's dressing room because Rachel and Kendall, my 2 actors, who are 2 of the greatest people I've ever worked with and 2 of my very good friends, I would always use their bathroom. We had a bathroom in the green room that was upstairs that just was sort of constantly being used, and both of them I had asked, they did not mind. I would just run downstairs, hey, how you doing? Use the restroom, come out, everything good, great, run back upstairs. I had enough time. That was sort of what I always did at intermission. So I sneak myself backstage, and Lauren, my wonderful ASM, again, one of the greatest people I've ever worked with, fantastic friend of mine, she's trying to do all of these scenic things in a very short amount of time. Our intermission always ran over, and 9 times out of 10 we always ran over because we had 3 people trying to do the job of 6 to 8. It was very hard to do. Intermission always ran long. And I get backstage and I see Kendall with the other clown, his name was Trevor, and I was like, everything good? And Kendall looks at me and goes, my button snapped. And I said, what? Both of the clown characters were wearing buttoned suspenders. So suspenders that are attached to your pants through buttons. They're very old-timey. That was what the clowns wore sort of as a base because they added so much and then they subtracted so much. And I said, what do you mean they popped or they snapped? And she goes, when I jumped into Trevor's arms, they just snapped off and you could hear them. And I give Trevor so much credit. In the dark, he snatched up these buttons for her. They only snapped on one set. So in the back, so on button suspenders, there's one big button in the front usually, and then there's 2 buttons in the back where they're connected. It's like a V shape, and I said, oh. So she's holding these buttons, and Lauren is coming by, and I stopped her, and I said, I'm very sorry. Do you absolutely need like Joey right now? And she goes, yes, I need everybody if we want to get this done in a timely manner. I said, okay, thank you. I will see you in a minute. Maddie, my costume designer, shout out to Maddie, had left a kit because there were so many quick changes and because we did have somebody dedicated to costumes. She sort of left like an emergency sewing kit that had black thread, white thread, a bunch of needles, scissors, anything you could really need to do something really quick. So I go there, I grab a pack of needles, and I grab the white thread because that was the first thing I saw. And I tell Kendall, I was like, we're going to the dressing room, I'm fixing these pants. Trevor, thank you so much. I get into the dressing room and Rachel's in there like, and I'm trying not to panic. My brain immediately, adrenaline starts pumping because I know I have a very short amount of time to get this done and there are 2 buttons that need fixed. So I'm sitting down, my hands are shaking, unfortunately, because as what happens when you have adrenaline, and I'm like, like trying to thread the needle. I'm like, shit. And both Rachel and Kendall, I love them to death because they go, hey, Britt, take a breath and calm down. Like, it's not that deep. I'm like, thank you, you're right. Get the needle done. And I do the worst job on these buttons. If we have a picture, Evie, put it up here. First of all, they're black pants. I picked white thread for some godforsaken reason. I'm just trying to get them attached as best I can. And I get them both on, I get them looped in, I give a couple good tugs, and then I give the pants to Kendall, who has just been chilling patiently without pants, puts them on. And I said, like, do what you have to do. Like, she's doing jumping jacks, she's like bending over, she's squatting, she's doing everything. They've held. They're holding, it's great. I said, sweet. And then I stand up, and in my mind, I make a decision. I'm like, do I go pee or do I not pee? That is the question. And they both look at me and they say, please go pee. I'm like, yes, thank you. Run to the restroom, do that. Hey, I'm running out. Break a leg, everybody. Run up the stairs. Got to actually see Lauren, which was great, as opposed to trying to text or go over comm. I'm like, how are we doing on time? We're great. I go upstairs. Second act, no problems. When we're done, I go back down to the dressing room after I was collecting. I had post-show sheets of, did anything break? Is your prop broken? Is there anything wrong with your clothing? This, that, or the other. And everyone's like, everything's good. I'm like, did the buttons hold? The buttons held. Great. Rachel had like a little snag on her skirt and a little snag on her shirt that just needed like fixing up. I'm like, great. So we had a little bit of a break time between shows, and I was going to go out, I think, with the cast was the plan, and my production manager stopped me last minute and was like, well, somebody needs to stay here. Like, you brought a dinner, right? And I had brought it just in case something happened to go wrong, and I had never wanted to be without food. And I said, yeah. And she goes, cool, you're gonna stay here then. And she left, and the whole cast was like, are you coming? I said, I can't. So everyone goes off to eat, and I at the time wasn't super hungry at the moment, and I thought to myself, I have to go fix that button. So I go and I get black thread, and I go down, and I had a lot of white thread still left on the needle, so I did a couple stitches in Rachel's Pamela shirt because it was white, and the hem didn't matter. The skirt, I just like put a couple in the hem. And then I get out this black thread, and I'm just sitting there, podcast on, and I cut the work that I had done in haste. I cut off the thread, and I get these buttons off, and in my head I'm like, these could last 2 more shows. That's all they needed to last. They only needed to last 2 more shows. It wasn't like I needed to last another week or whatever. It was 2 shows. But my TD, my mentor Ryan, was in my head. He had always, by example, done the little things right. He did the details. We never cut corners. I just very vividly remember painting the underside of the second floor of like Hamlet's castle and just being frustrated about it because it's really hard to like paint and like you're craning your neck. Or we were fixing the hems of like these drapes that I said, nobody's gonna see this. He goes, no, but, and I said, you're right. And he goes, I know, and we're just sewing it. So I cut off these buttons, and shout out to Sarah, who was my costume designer and taught my costume craft class. She taught me how to shank a button. It was like the first thing we learned. And I went in and I fixed the button. I shanked it. I did everything I needed to do that I had been taught in college how to put on a button. And I did it with black thread, and they looked immaculate. If we have a picture, Evie, please put it here. And I put the suspender back on, I gave it a tug. And it took me less than 20 minutes, I want to say, but I wasn't rushed. So I really like took the time, lined everything up, gave it a good tug, put them back up, went upstairs, had my dinner. Lauren, my ASM, came back early with her food. She was just getting takeout, and we chatted for a little bit and ate. And so the actors, come back. I tell Rachel, I sewed everything up, let me know if there's a problem. And I did let Kendall know. I said, hey, just a heads up, I went back and did the buttons the right way. So, and I'd sort of joked in my mind, I said, so if they fall off now, I said, we should have just left them as is, but they held for the 2 shows. And I think about that sometimes when people aren't focused on details. And I think about that sometimes when I don't focus on details. And I think I'm the person who went and redid a button because it bugged me. It bugged me that it was in white thread and that it looked like shit. And if the audience happened to see it, I did not want that to be something that they thought about. The devil is in the details. And if you If you can do the small things right, you can do the big things right, no matter how big and scary they may seem. So that's my story about a button. I know what it sounds like. I know it sounds crazy, but I think a lot of times if people are like, what's a great story that demonstrates you as a stage manager? I think that that is a great story to tell people because it shows my attention to detail and the fact that I wasn't satisfied with a job that was good enough. So I think it's a great little story for that, great little anecdote. And it was a great show. The 39 Steps is a show that I cannot speak about highly enough. Talk about theater giving you stuff. That doing that show gave me 3 people in my life that I am forever grateful for. They're great humans, they're great friends, they are fantastic actors and stage managers, and I have all the love in the world for them and for that show and for that opportunity. That's been story time. Make sure to drink water and give grace, and I will see you in the next video.